Matthew 13, 24, verse 24, verse 31, verse 33, verse 44, verse 45, verse 47, verse 52. Matthew 13 has the most references of the kingdom of heaven. And I had written a certain level of uh, details on Matthew 13, and so I'll just bring that up. And as soon as we've gotten the writing of Proverbs 13 and Proverbs Matthew 13 up, we'll go into the theme music because I need to go make myself some hot chocolate. Matthew 13, verse 24. Well, he starts talking about the farmer sowing grain. Other seeds fell among thorns. Thorns choked out tender blades. Some fell on good soil, produced a crop that was 30, 60, and even 100 times as much as he had planted. If you have ears, listen. Disciples came and asked, "Why do you use these hard to understand illustrations?" He explained to them that only they were permitted to understand about the salvation of heaven. Gonna pull myself up here. The salvation of heaven. Only the disciples at this point were permitted to understand. Can you imagine Jesus coming into a place to teach something, knowing full well that only his disciples would be permitted to understand that which he was teaching? He's teaching several thousand. He's recognizing only 12 are going to understand. Is that something that you would be able to do? Would you be able to present and see that your videos are getting thousands of views, but only 12 are understanding? Would you be able to do that? That's what Jesus was doing here. For to him who has will more be given, and he will have great plenty. But him who has not, even the little bit he has, will be taken away. That is what I use illustrations so people will hear and see, but not understand. Now here he gives the explanation of the seeds. And this part right here. This part right here. I didn't write this in the original section, but this part right here. Satan comes and snatches the seeds from his heart. Satan is not bothered by you and I. Not in the least bit. Satan is bothered by the Word of God being in your heart. He's not bothered by you. He's only bothered by you if you have the Word of God in your heart. So, it's going to sound like I'm going to be name dropping, but I'm only going to be describing a few conversations that I've had over the past couple weeks. If you feel like you can play Roblox while at the same time as praying to God, if you feel that you can do this thing of studying the Word of God for 15 minutes at a time, baby, he's kind of going over. Okay. If you feel that you can get to know someone in a relationship, Mr. Second Peanut Gallery is talking. If you feel that you can get to know someone in a relationship at 15-minute increments, you don't know them. Satan is not threatened by you if you only go 15-minute increments. He's not bothered by you. However, the moment that the Word of God comes into your heart, Satan is there to take the Word out of your heart. That's why you gotta fight to maintain. So that it doesn't matter how many times Satan is here to take the word out of your heart, you gotta be there to refill and keep going. Because if you're not refilling, if you don't keep going, what's gonna happen? You're going to enter into a war. And in this war, it's gonna it's gonna really come down to the decision. Are you letting the sin nature rule your heart with all your understanding, or are you letting the God nature rule your heart so that all of your understanding, all of your way of doing things can actually die on the cross right along with Jesus, and the knowledge that He presents through the Spirit can grow out of your spirit into the soul and be reflected in the physical body? Is that your desire? Because at that point, you're walking in salvation. Greek word soteria. At that point, you are being delivered entirely from every evil molestation of the enemy against your soul. That's what salvation actually means. But if you're still struggling with all the stuff of how you used to be before you gave your heart to God, guess what? Satan has come and snatched the word out of your heart, because it's the word of God in your heart that's the threat. It's not you. We got deep real quick. We got deep real quick. Now, what I had written for this particular part, bringing in the black notepad, whoop, come on. According to, whoops, that's a little further. There we go. According to Matthew 13, I'll put that up there. Salvation starts out small, but is required to mix into your entire life, showing up in everything that you do. Does that sound like you? In everything that you do, is the word showing up in everything that you do? Bringing in the white notepad. I had written this, and then this is the part where I realized, oh, I'm live, but I hadn't written anything. I mean, nobody could hear anything. So this is where I was on Wednesday. According to Jesus, the way in which salvation starts out is as a seed. Now, because salvation is such a vital part of life, Satan will come in and sow copies of what salvation looks like, but the copies will be burned before your salvation gets tested. True salvation, the type that Jesus designed, is the type that shows up in your entire life. If the salvation that you claim does not have and does not show up in everything you do, it is a tare, not a wheat. And as I said on Wednesday, you are living a tare-able life. That's just terrible. TARE, terrible. Kind of makes me wonder if that's what the actual origin came from for terrible. All right. Next section. Kingdom of heaven can be compared to a woman making bread. She takes a measure of flour and mixes in the yeast until it permeates every part of the dough. That's what I was talking about, where salvation is required to go into every part of you. Jesus constantly used these illustrations when speaking to the crowds. In fact, because the prophet said that he would use so many, he never spoke to them without at least one illustration. For it had been prophesied, I will talk in parables, I will explain mysteries hidden since the beginning of time. Then, leaving the crowds outside, he went into the house. His disciples asked him to just explain the illustration of the thistles and wheat. All right, he said, I am the farmer who sows the choice seed. The field is the world, and the seed represents the people of the kingdom of heaven. The thistles are the people belonging to Satan. The enemy who sowed the thistles among the wheat is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. Just as in this story the thistles are separated and burned, so shall it be at the end of the world. I will send my angels, and they will separate out of the kingdom every temptation and all who are evil. Stopping right there. In order to be good, your life has to mirror Jesus Christ. Says the theme stated. Your life has to. That's how you're good. Because God is light and in him there is no shadow. I'll show you that reference here in a bit. But because God is light, in him there is no shadow. If you are not light, you are shadow. You are evil. If you're not doing exactly as Jesus did on the earth, you are evil. Are you doing on this earth what Jesus did? If yes, guess what? By God's description, you're good. You're not part of the is not you're not part of the bit where the angels are coming in to remove all the evil. You're not part of that because you're good. However, if you're not doing as Jesus said, you're evil. You will be removed. The thought occurred to me today while I was at work, and also yesterday. This presentation of salvation is not going to make sense in the Gospels if you're only using Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This presentation of salvation comes about as a result of reading the books, reading and studying out and teaching the books of Romans and Colossians. This presentation of what it means to be saved or to be walking in salvation is based out of whether or not you understand Romans, Colossians, or both. If you don't understand Romans or Colossians, there's a fair chance you won't understand this either. But if you can get a glimpse, get a basic understanding as to what's being presented here, then you can go through the series of Romans and Colossians and it'll make sense. All right?